So it was 2009. So we're sitting in New York City, sitting there having a drink with Dominique's Uncle Greg. And he's like, I'm going to make this investment in taxicab medallions. And I didn't know what that was. I should probably tell you about that. He goes, when you go out on the street and you see a yellow taxi, there's going to be a medallion about that big bolted to the hood. You know, the only person that can respond to a street hail in the city of New York is someone with a taxicab medallion. And I had no idea that those things were going to be worth $750,000. In 2009, that's how much a taxicab medallion cost. And I guess it's because there's a limited supply of them. And, it's an island. You can only have so many cabs on the island. So make a long story short, $750,000. Well, the price kept going up and up and up to the point that a taxicab medallion, by 2013, you'd have to cut a check for $1.3 million in order to have a taxicab medallion. You can probably guess where this story is going to go. People are like, I bet you they're not worth as much today. No, they're not worth as much today. And everyone knows the answer. They go, it's Uber. That's right. So from $1.3 million to $650,000. And it was Uber. Uber got into New York City in 2011. But it still took a couple years in order for people to adopt Uber and start using it. And then it really started to hurt the taxicab medallion industry. So disruptors in a marketplace, disruptors in an industry, is at Uber what they did to the taxicab industry. Folks will try to say, well, we should be Uber, man. We should be like Uber. That's too late. We're not Uber. We're taxicab drivers. Our company's old, next year we're going to be able to take Social Security. We got old stuff. We're the established player. We're dominant in the marketplace. We're not Uber. So let's just say that out loud. We can be better than Uber because Uber cannot respond to a street hail. I can't go out into the street and be like, Uber. So when Uber was set to go into New York City, what did the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission try to do? They tried to keep them out. They lawyered up. They're like, no, you can't come in here. They tried to close off the market to Uber. Obviously, it didn't work. What if the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission had instead said, hey, you know what? We're going to hire some kid in his basement to develop our own app. Drive clean cabs, provide friendly service, give out a bottle of water, have a rating system. On a scale of 1 to 5 stars, if they drop below a 4.7, Uber will not let them drive. Can you imagine that? You have to have a 94% satisfaction rate in order to keep your business. What if the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission decided to do that? What if they upped their game, upped their level of service? Imagine if taxi drivers had just evolved. They would crush Uber. Because what's the one thing that Uber can't do? They can't go respond to a street hail. So now imagine you go out on a street, New York City, and you're like, taxi! There's never a taxi around. You know what? Let me see where one is. What if they had the app? They would crush Uber because there'd be nowhere for Uber to go because they can't respond to a street hail. Taxi drivers can. If we can become evolved taxi drivers, we're going to crush whatever Uber is out there because our Uber is out there. Amazon is licensed to sell insurance in 37 states. What if Blue Cross went and developed a whole bunch of voluntary products and took it into their book of business? Federal legislation could be our Uber. Just ask our friends who sell health insurance. Our Uber's out there, man. We just need to be evolved taxi drivers, and we'll be able to crush it no matter what the Uber is. That's what I think.